All right, I'm here with Sam Hentges, a pitcher in the Cleveland Indians organization. Sam, it is good to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, you got the hat on because of the quarantine hair, you know.
Yeah, it's getting ugly. I just had a workout this morning. Haven't showered yet, so it's
Gotcha.
definitely not very good right now.
Yeah. So Sam, before we get into some of your story and different things, it's hard for people to tell right now because you're sitting down in this call, but just tell everyone if they don't know, how tall are you?
I'm 6'8", and I do get a lot of comments on it. I get a lot of people asking in public if I play basketball. I'd say probably half the time I say yes, half the time I say no, just for fun.
just to get the reaction.
Yeah, I hear about it a lot, so I try to come up with a different comeback line every time.
Right. It's funny. So I'm 6'3", and there's not a whole lot of people in life that I look up to when I have conversations with, but you're for sure one of them, man. And I got to tell you, this last spring when I was out in Arizona in spring training and having a couple opportunities to see you throw some live batting practice. I mean, we talked. I have no idea the difference of the pitch. I can't tell, what's going on. All that I know is that ball is coming in so fast. And I don't know what the amount of money would be that I would have to get paid to stand in that batter's box with you just hurling a fastball towards me. It's just terrifying, man. How fast do you bring it?
95.
Oh, just a casual 95.
Yeah.
I would be pumped if I got to 60, man. If I got 60 the radar gun.
I bet you could. You got to try it at one of. You got to try it. I'm sure they have it at the Indians games. They have a little pitch radar that you can throw into.
Yeah. I'll just stay away from it. I don't want to embarrass myself. But hey, I appreciate you jumping in this conversation here, and really just want to hear some of your story, and particularly your story of your relationship with Jesus, and just what it is that he's done in your life, what it is that he continues to do in your life. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your story? Like, where did you grow up? And growing up, did you go to church? Give us a little bit of background there.
Well, I grew up in Minnesota, just outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul area. I was the oldest of three children. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. And I grew up in a Catholic family. We went to church at a Catholic church every Sunday, probably, unless there was something severe that we had to miss it. But we would go every Sunday. And I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. And I think growing up, like my family and I, like I said, we would go to church and I did all the sacraments. I was baptized early. I had the first Eucharist. I had the reconciliation, and kind of I felt like I was checking off all the boxes. But I mean, as an elementary school kid, you don't know. You don't like
when
you
you're
understand
younger,
what you're
it
doing.
feels that way a little bit, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But so I did all that as a kid, and I didn't. Like, I just thought it was good. Like, I thought I was just doing the right thing, and that's what I was raised to do, and stuff like that. When I started to read, my parents got me a children's Bible, and kind of learned about Jesus from that. And I enjoyed it a lot. I liked learning about it, or learning about him, and what he's done. But as I got older and in high school, we would continue to go to the Catholic church, and probably my junior year of high school, I went with a buddy to a non-denominational church, and he took me and asked me if I wanted to go. I said sure, and we went, and I felt like it was a lot more relatable to me in my life, and I understood it more, and I was more focused listening to the pastor there, and could understand a lot more. So I enjoyed it, and I brought it to my family's attention. I said, hey, we should try this church out, this non-denominational church. had good music. So, um, so we went there, and it was good. I would say I didn't have a great relationship with God. I would probably say it was more of a good relationship with God. It wasn't. I wouldn't go over the top with anything I was doing. I wasn't reading the Bible in high school. I was just kind of going to church, and I thought that's what you're supposed to
Yeah.
do, and try to be a good person, and good things would happen.
And it
Um,
sounds like even with that, though, your parents laid a solid foundation for you,
Definitely.
on the importance of that relationship with Jesus and that consistency and involvement in the church. And I actually had the opportunity this last spring to meet your parents, and they seem like absolutely incredible people, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it sounds like they
they're
laid a
awesome.
great foundation for you.
For sure. They were both they both grew up in Catholic families as well. Um, and like I said, I don't have anything against the Catholic religion. I would consider myself more of a non-denominational Christian at this point in my life, and just feel like it's more like you dig into the Bible more when you go to those services.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
tell me, yeah, those high school years, you started going to this non-denominational church, uh, making a little bit of a name for yourself in the baseball world, right?
yeah.
So yeah, walk me through some of that.
It was I liked it. I thought growing up, I was younger, and in elementary school, I had no idea, and even in middle school, I wasn't really understanding or retaining a lot of information at the Catholic masses, and kind of transitioning into this church. Obviously, I was a little bit older, um, and I could understand it more. And I don't know whether it was the pastor who was there, because he was very good at what he did, and I loved listening to him. He actually just retired
Hmm.
about a month and a half ago, so I'm a
Oh
little bummed
wow.
out about that, because
Yeah.
I still watch some of the services online,
Oh, that's great.
um, of that church. But yeah, I mean, I think it was, for me, it was a stepping stone in the right direction. It helped me stay focused during church. It helped me kind of take my faith into an everyday life kind of thing, rather than just going to church on Sundays. Um, like I would read the Bible, or I would go to a young life in the community
Yeah.
with friends and high school friends in high school, and kind of, like I said, it was a stepping stone. Obviously, it wasn't where I wanted to be, but I think it was a good transition for me, going from Catholic to non-denominational church.
Gotcha. And so then for you, um, this kind of world, the relationship with Jesus began to open up for you. And then shortly after that, you find yourself getting drafted into the
Right.
big leagues. Just tell us real quick, what age were you when that happened?
I I was 17 when I was drafted.
17. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it
incredible.
was. So I was 17, and it was shortly after I had graduated high school, and I was sent down to Arizona, and it definitely, living on my own definitely forced me to mature very quickly. But as a 17-year-old, you're not super mature, and
That's so
living on your own.
shocking to hear.
Yeah, and I know I've talked with a lot of people, and I think there's a common theme of growing up in a religious household, and you're religious through high school and everything's good, and then you kind of move away, and it's on you 100%. And for me, I think moving away definitely hurt my relationship with God.
Mhm.
And initially, it was probably for 2 years, it was shaky, and I would go to church every once in a while when I was home, and I would go to chapel a couple times a year during the season. So it definitely, living on my own, not being very mature and not being very understanding of my circumstance, it definitely hurt my relationship with God.
Yeah. So tell me about that. I mean, the 17 years old by yourself, you just get drafted. You're in professional baseball now, in the later part of your teenage years and everything. And you just said, there's difficulty in living out your faith. Like a lot of college kids struggle with, as you just
Right.
kind of said, as they go away, leave home. But here you are by yourself, drafted in professional baseball, experiencing that difficulty. So talk to me a little bit about what began to happen to kind of turn your relationship with Jesus around.
I think for me, so I was drafted in 2014, 2016 season. I was hurt in the middle of it, hurt my elbow, went got an MRI, and I was told I needed Tommy John surgery. That was in July of 2016. So I had Tommy John surgery then, and the first couple months was kind of a little bit of the same. Obviously, I was devastated and frustrated, almost angry
Yeah.
when I had Tommy John surgery, because I knew I couldn't play baseball or pitch for a whole year, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But I knew that a lot of other people were also going through the same thing, and a lot of people around the world are going through a lot worse things. So I think
Wow.
understanding that at an early point in the rehab process for my elbow was good for me. And then that probably happened like 3 months post surgery, I kind of started to drill that in my head that I'm out for a year, I can't play, like I have to get better. And I think it started out with getting better physically, just in the rehab process, working hard and doing everything that I could. At that point in time, obviously, I'm very limited with the surgery because it is a long process.
Yeah.
But then in December of that year, I moved in to a different place with a couple of the roommates, and one of my roommates who was there was very religious, and he was a good person, and he's a great friend of mine, and he's very nice to everyone, gets along with everyone, and everyone loves him. And so I saw something in him that I feel like I needed to have, or I wanted, or something along those lines. And so I kind of started talking to him a little bit, and he kind of led me in the right direction. So I think living with him was definitely a turning point, or another one of those stepping stones in my relationship with God. And so I started going to church more, started getting in the Bible, and started trying to take that and use it every day and try to be a godly person 7 days of the week rather than just on Sundays. So I think that was huge for me. I think that 1 year off of baseball matured me physically, mentally, and most of all spiritually. And I kind of took that and used him, and he was I mean, he's phenomenal. I still talk to him all the time, and he definitely was almost like a prophet for me. And
That's cool.
I mean, God sent
That's
him
really
and
cool.
put him in my life to help lead me on the right path.
Right. I think there's a couple of things you said there, having people in your life. And I'd love to hear you talk, more about some of the Bible study stuff that you have going on here in a little bit. But I think that God brings people in our lives, even if it's just for a season, that that He uses to transform us. And there's um, uh, options for us in that we can either choose to step into those relationships and like you said, particularly that relationship with God, or we can choose not to. And so I think he's constantly using people in our lives to help mold us and shape us into who he wants us to be. And then the other thing too, like even what you went through with that year of the Tommy John surgery, and just that recovery and that whole process, I've just found, hearing people's stories over the years, there's just something that God does when we kind of hit these, low point might be
Right.
might be fair to
Right.
say, or these moments where we if there's something that maybe our identity is wrapped up in other than God, perhaps it's
Right.
baseball, things like that, and your whole world's kind of built around um, this thing that just isn't God. When that gets removed, we're forced with this decision to say, okay, who am I? And that's when I think a lot of times God breaks through and says, okay, let me remind you of who you are, as a
Right.
son of mine. And so I
Mhm.
love that, even in the middle of that, you were still able to see him and experience him and pursue him. And so I would love to hear though, even more on that community aspect, like the roommate you were talking about. Like what is God doing in your life now? There's some exciting stuff happening, man.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, so I mean, 2017, I took that and I kind of plateaued in my relationship with God. I wasn't doing anything more or doing anything less than I was. Um, and it kind of was almost at a stalemate where I was not really growing my relationship with God. Um, and then probably 8 months ago or the end of last season, I was invited to join this Bible study with a couple other guys in the organization. It was probably 10 to 12 of us. And we would meet because it was off season, everyone wasn't in the same place. We would meet via FaceTime and we would each have a verse or a passage in the Bible that we would have to go over and kind of get everyone's thoughts on it and talk about it and how we can relate it to our lives and how we can apply it to our lives. Um, and that group helped me because it helped me get into the Bible and it helped me apply the Bible directly to my life. And a lot of those guys are a lot further along in their faith and they know the Bible a lot better than I do and have been doing it for longer and have been studying it for longer. Um, so it's helping me, like, listening to them. I do a lot more listening than talking in these FaceTimes, but I think there's definitely value in that because they're basically teaching me, and it's just God putting these people in my lives and giving me these opportunities. Granted, I could have said no and said no, I don't want to be a part of this Bible study, and that's something that I've learned, that I feel like there's always a decision to be had in a lot of things. Um, God will give you the decision, um, and if you just say yes to it, and luckily I did, and learning from these guys and getting into the Bible and taking what we learned from the Bible and what these guys are saying and applying it to my life and utilizing it throughout the week. And I think I've told you this before, but um, like once you get into the Bible more and start reading about it and learning about it, it kind of changes your thoughts and how your brain works and how your thought process is and how you view things. And you notice God a lot more in everyday life, whether it's when you're scrolling through your phone on Instagram or whether you see someone outside and have an opportunity to give them a bottle of water or just kind of in anything. And um, in that study, we've talked a lot about being an ambassador for God and spreading His word, and ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is to try to reach as many people as possible and share the good news with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I'm still in the process of doing, and it can be very difficult at times because like someone with like me who's not super far along and doesn't know the Bible super well and can't defend a lot of questions that a non-believer has. It can be hard, but again, I'm learning, and I'm learning a lot from these guys, and it's definitely changing the way I think, changing the way I act, changing the way kind of my life is going.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And again, I think that just drills home the importance of that community piece, that we need other brothers and sisters that have that relationship with Jesus around us. It's that Proverbs, iron sharpens iron idea. You
Right.
help one another get better. And there's a saying I've just heard over the years, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. And you're still, a young enough guy that friends and relationships are continuing to form. That and the saying goes, "Show me who your 5 closest friends are, and I'll be able to show you who you'll be in 5 years."
Right.
It's like that idea who you surround yourself with. And yeah, I was fortunate enough, again, when I was out in spring training, to have the opportunity to stop in on that Bible study you guys are doing, which I think was the first time that you guys did it in person together, right? Like it had always been over FaceTime up until that point. And man, I gotta tell you, I'm just so proud of you, because you said, even this conversation, you just kind of sit there. But man, some of the things that you contributed to that conversation were just there was just wisdom in that, man. There was just an understanding, that I think that God's given you, and so it's great to see you and, Quentin Holmes and some other guys, that are just on fire for Jesus right now, and just learning from him and letting him speak to you and shape you and form you. So I love that, man. So yeah, just as we kind of wrap up this conversation, I know we're certainly in unique times right now. With the coronavirus pandemic and people being quarantined and everything. And I know there's just a lot of people that could use some hope and could use some encouragement right now. So I just want to ask you if there's anything that you have that you feel like may offer some hope or some encouragement to some people right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have a couple things on. I think first and foremost, you got to just stay healthy and stay safe, everyone. But I was reading something on Twitter, and like I said, I see God a lot more in my life. Sorry, my dog's coming in here.
That's awesome. What's your dog's name?
Winnie.
Winnie.
Little 6-month-old puppy. So I forgot what I was saying now.
Something on Twitter.
So I saw something on Twitter. Yeah. So I've been seeing God more, and I saw something on Twitter the other day. It was talking about this whole coronavirus pandemic, and things are crazy right now, and no one knows when it's going to end, or no one knows what's going on, and I think it kind of went on to say it's a good time to focus on God, because everyone has this ample amount of time and so much time on their hands right now, and it's something that you might not ever get again, this amount of time, maybe until you're older. So it's a perfect time to focus on your relationship with God, and really drill home getting in the Bible and just focusing on him, because I think it can change a lot of things in your life and what you notice and how you think. So I think that's very important. Something to do with your time that you have on your hands now, instead of playing the show on the Xbox or watching a Netflix show or something like that.
Right.
Which is also something that is very easy to do. It's easy to get distracted in today's day and age, and with all the phone and the devices that you can have. But I just, Find it.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
think
find a
that's good.
time.
Yeah.
Just 5 minutes a day, even if you do
Yep.
5 minutes, read a little passage from the Bible. It'll help get you started. And there's this Bible verse that we were talking about the other day. It doesn't really relate to the quarantine thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of stuck out to me, and it was in Colossians 1. I believe it's um, book. Um, yeah, Colossians 1 verse 16, and it talks about God creating everything. It kind of reiterates what is talked about in Genesis. And at the end of that verse, it says everything was created through him and for him. And it's something that I've thought a lot about, is we were created by God, for God. So we have to do everything we do for him. And it kind of takes selfishness completely out of play if you do everything for God, because you're not doing it for yourself then.
That's right.
So it's just something that kind of has been on my mind for the past couple of days after I read it, and it's just something that I'd like to go back to a lot, and we'll think about a lot, hopefully for a long time.
Right. Oh, that's so good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Sam, and I appreciate you just taking the time to have this conversation, share your story, and most importantly, your story of what God's done in your life and what He continues to do in your life. And I just want you to know, man, I just really appreciate you and how you're pursuing your relationship with God. And in the middle of that, I think just one of the characteristics of Jesus that I've seen in you that you just exemplify is humility. And that's one of the things that I just really appreciate about you since I've gotten to know you, is just how humble you are. I think that speaks volumes to who you are and who God is continuing to shape and mold you into be. So appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for taking the time to do
appreciate that,
this.
Mike. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
All right, man. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, Mike.